Okay, so let's get started with this week's Street Talk time then, and I'll tell you what, Gemma, I don't know what was worse, this week's Coronation Street or this week's Doctor Who.
Oh, God. Well, I don't remember what happened in either of them.
Well, luckily we only have to do a podcast one of them. Doctor Who, she met some pirate sea devils, didn't she? And she told Yaz that she's the best person she ever knows. I don't know where that came from. How do they make
science fiction and pirates boring?
They have alien pirates. They were aliens, I know nerds. No, Doctor Who was boring, but I knew it would be. But I was expecting Coronation Street to maybe be good this week, and it turned out it wasn't so good. But, you know, we have had lots of good Corrie recently.
It was so boring, I didn't even tweet anything.
You did do some tweets this week.
Did I?
I think you did some Wednesday
today
tweets.
I didn't.
You didn't do any today.
I was like, I'm not even. They can't be bothered. Neither can I.
No, it's a shame. I've really loved Corrie the past month and a half or so. Ever since Abby had her secret baby, it's been fire on all cylinders pretty much to me. But then this week it just didn't really go down very well. Was it anything to do with the fact that storyline barely featured in it? Quite possibly. There may be other things which we can get to as we go. But I'm really sorry for all the people that did like it. And I even saw somebody... we have seen one person on our Facebook group, Ben, I'm talking to you here, who absolutely loved tonight's episode. So I do apologise.
Good for you.
For my ranting that is going to... I don't even know that I got the energy to rant, to be honest. All that decking painting.
It wasn't bad though, was it? It was just boring.
It was just a bit boring. Ooh. And there were some good bits. I know who's my character of the week going to be this week already.
David, for that one line.
David was
fantastic.
What did he do?
Back on form again from Jack P. Shepherd. He's been MIA.
Yes.
He just did an impression of Maria go coming in.
Oh yeah, doing that gossiping. He was good tonight, wasn't he? No, he not my character of the week. Spoiler alert. You have to wait a couple of hours to find out.
A couple of hours. I'm doing this for 2 hours.
You know, I don't,
however
long it takes.
What happened
the stories we've got this week.
Daisy and Daniel fell out.
We got. Don't spoil it, Gemma. I need to give my storyline titles.
Just give us the titles of the storylines. That's exactly what happened.
Driving Miss Daisy, Wild with Jealousy. No, that's not that great. We had the Summer Burnout storyline. We had a little bit of the Happy Babby Baby. I don't know why I got it in third place, but it didn't feature that heavily.
In third place.
We had a little bit of Kelly Reelan. George's Little Problem. Because of the little, Mrs. Little and Mrs. Little and the dead little.
I thought you could also use this for Tim.
No, I've got to call that Timpertant.
No, don't laugh at
my other option for that storyline was... less Elaine time, more alone time. I'll tell you what, I should write for Coronation Street. Less Elaine time, more alone time. It's wicked fresh.
How do you think that this skill of coming up with awful, convoluted puns, torturous puns, how would that fit in?
I'd just be the Kirk writer. So, right, we need some Kirk scenes, everybody. Michael, pass it over to you. What's he going to say this week?
You think you can do a better job than they do with it? I don't think so.
We had Adam doing something this week. I don't know whether that was a story or whether he was just kind of... Yeah, he did a few little bits this week. He turned up and he had a woman show up at his office as well. So anyway, we're about to say what we didn't like about this week's Coronation Street. I'm very sorry for anybody who may be listening that's involved in this week's Coronation Street in any fashion. I'm sure there's some good bits that we will come across as we get there. So Gemma, I'm going to pass Daisy over to you.
Yeah.
What has she been up to with Daniel and that slag Nicky?
No, it's problematic. This whole storyline. I've already been told off on Twitter for my problematic.
I told Gemma to tweet that.
Problematic attitudes.
What happened to the days when we could make fun of Leanne being an ex-prostitute on Twitter?
You can't anymore.
Times have changed.
It's just one PC woke thing after another.
All right, Charlie Lawson, come on.
What's next?
Come on, right.
Not been able to laugh about dead babies, I suppose. On Monday. No, on Monday, Daniel sees Beth in the cafe and he tries to talk to her about something sensitive, but Daisy comes in and he's like, don't worry, I'll tell you later. What was that about? It turns out he's going to school for planning the trip. Now, again, I think this is a case of Salford or Manchester having different term times.
Yeah.
But half of the week they seem to be in school and the other half they weren't.
They had bank holiday Monday off of school, and then they were back to school on Wednesday, which was actually Tuesday in Weatherfield Land, and today was the end of the week, which is Friday. It was actually Wednesday as well.
So you're moving your hands around so much. I feel like this has turned into geography.
Some places in the country were back to school this week. I was not.
No.
But it did give Daniel...
You were?
Yeah, I know I was in school a bit this week, but I wasn't spend. How many days has Daniel spent planning this trip that he's been landed with? Which we're still none the wiser about what the trip is actually about. But apparently there's some great culture there, because on the English classroom board there's a lovely poster that's been made saying how awesome Edinburgh is. There's poets and everything.
City of culture.
Yeah.
I am also wondering what the bloody point of it was, because Nicky doesn't work there anymore.
Oh, he'll get her own job.
They're not going on a sexy Edinburgh trip now, are they? To buy their disgusting tablet.
He'll probably go up there and he'll find her walking the streets of Edinburgh.
Which I firmly insist.
Touting for business.
Is just fudge that's gone wrong. So don't try to tell me.
Scottish tablet is amazing.
It's horrible.
It's lovely.
Anyway, I apologise for people that have had the Scottish tablet, but
I do think it's very silly how much time Daniel's spending on this trip. What had his plans for the Easter holiday been? Because I'm completely on Daisy's side for all of this. He clearly had nothing else to do over the Easter holidays, and he just like she probably was expecting to have a good couple of weeks of time with her and her fella.
Hang on a minute, mister.
What?
Excuse me, are you on the side of the person who's complaining about the other person working too much at school?
No. At least when I spend time working at school, it's not a surprise. I haven't said, I haven't got any work this holiday. I say, no, I've got bits of work. I was only in there 3 days this week, Gemma. Daniel clearly had nothing else to do, and he's like, oh, give me work, let me plan this random trip, even though I've never planned one in my life. And this TA, who doesn't technically even start working here yet, she's her first day working at the school.
That girl
was Wednesday this week. She was in there.
Had her feet under the table right off. She had a snake plant in there before she'd even done an hour's work.
I love how you could tell that she was quitting.
Yeah,
not she was quitting. You could tell she was quiet because she had a box with a plant and files, and that's the universal sign on TV and film that you've been handed in your cards, haven't you?
Yeah. What am I going to do? And I'll get fired.
Yeah, you're just going to have to
walk around the house with a box of plants.
Walk out the front door with a box of plants, then do a little loop round the driveway, and then come back in again, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
Why did she have a plant? Where was she planning to put this plant?
Also, I think I love how petty she is. What if I'm fired? You're not keeping this plant. It's my plant. I'm not leaving it here for the children. I'm not in it for the children.
She literally had been working there officially for 2 days, and she'd already accrued a box worth of stuff. Because she's dedicated. She's got a kid to feed everybody.
I know she's got a
little daughter. Remember, we saw her. She does exist.
It's not a lie.
Yeah.
Like
not like George's cat.
Oh God.
Go on. Sorry,
right.
I distracted you long enough.
Okay, so he's going to school to plan the trip. Daisy packs a lunch for Daniel and Nicky to enjoy, and is it smoked salmon bagels?
Yes.
Jenny can tell that she is actually just being nosy to keep an eye on them. Daniel and Nicky are having a lovely time, and Orla thinks there's something going on. So when Daisy turns up, she's like, oh, you better knock before you go in there, because they're just be on the safe side. Because they're...
yeah, sorry. Yeah, because she thinks that Daisy's a delivery driver, doesn't she? And she's like, oh, yeah, my members of staff there may well be at it in the classroom.
I don't mind. So... I'm very progressive. As long as she's not as long as she's not being paid, I don't mind. Orla's
just waiting there till they get their kit off so she can jump in and make it a threesome, I think, after last week's performance.
This is the whole thing, Michael. This whole trip, you're confused. Why are they going to Edinburgh? Orla wants to see Daniel in a kilt with no pants on.
Oh, yeah, she's going to get him to stand over a vent like Marilyn Monroe.
What a vision. She's like, while we're in Edinburgh, we all have to dress appropriately, so take your trousers off.
No upskirting, though, because we're not
allowed
to do that at this school.
Unless you consent. Because we did the course, didn't we?
Don't you remember all the upskirting stuff we had, kids? That lasted a week, didn't it? We all learned a lesson about that one.
I like the fact that they they can't...
Maybe the trip to Edinburgh is the ultimate test. After they've had their 10-week course on upskirting, can they take a coach full of kids up to Scotland without any of them filming up anyone's kilt? I think I found it.
They went on a course about consent, and then a month later, they're all sharing websites of this poor TA and pictures of her in her underwear. So that went down well, didn't it? Everyone's back in the room.
Yeah, I hope they don't get a visit from Ofsted anytime soon, because they're not going to do so well in the old safeguarding, are they?
I imagine the course was basically they all had to sit in a room with a whiteboard that said consent on it, and then they went, okay, right, now everyone get out and don't do it again.
Moving on.
So, I don't know where I am.
Yeah, we're just...
Orla comes in. Oh, yeah, she's
Daisy's gone in.
Don't go in there. So Daisy goes in with the bagels, and she's mad. And Orla's like, oh, I didn't know that you were dating, and I didn't know you were Daniel's girlfriend. And Nicky's like, oh, this is awkward. I'm leaving. So Daniel and Daisy can talk, and Daisy's not in the mood. She gives Orla the lunch, and she's like crying, going, no one's ever been this nice to me before.
She's got a screw loose, hasn't she, Orla, at the moment? She's like, I've got a banana in the bottom of my bag. Oh, thanks very much. Did she reach in and grab a bottle of bubbly or something? Did she have a bit of a Moira moment?
She grabbed something out of there.
I think they could have lingered on that a little bit
Again,
more.
consent. No.
Yeah. Daisy didn't consent to you taking her booze, Orla.
Daniel comes home to a very snitty Daisy, and we've got to sort those out in the back garden, actually, now. Remember. He promises that he and Nicky are just mates, and he's like, this is getting tedious now, and she's like sulking, so he leaves. And Jenny... Who's Nicky? Oh.
Oh my god.
I thought it was a man. Jenny promises
Nicky Platt,
Nicky, the TA, will find a fella of her own soon enough. And Daisy's like, that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to give her a helping hand. So on Wednesday, Daniel meets Daisy on his walk to school. It's the first day back, and it's Nicky's first day in class. And Daisy says, why don't we have a nice drink after school so we can all catch up on her first day? Then Daisy is asking about in the pub, is anybody, like, she keeps saying, are you single? Do you want to go on a date with my friend? So she asks everybody, and...
She asked Paul, she asked Leo, who is inexplicably still there in this programme. He's just like attached to Jenny round.
Oh, this was also the day when our friend Rachel came round.
Oh yes, we did have.
And I was telling her who everyone was, and I was like, everyone is related to Ken Barlow, aren't they? It's like, he's Ken Barlow's granddad. No, he's Ken Barlow's grandson. He's his uncle's cousin. He's his best friend's cleaner.
And Rachel's hot take on Jenny and Leo was, he's a bit young for her, isn't he?
And I said, we've already had a very sensitively explored storyline about that, Rachel, and if you wanted to know, you should have been here for it. The bottom line is, he's cool with it.
What is going on with Leo? Why? I didn't really get why they put him with Jenny in the first place, but he's literally done nothing for the past 4 months, has he? Is there something going on here? Get rid of him. I don't need him.
No, you're mean. So Nicky meets up with Daniel in his classroom at lunch, and she is not very happy about this drinks meeting later. Later on, Daisy's finally found the perfect man for Nicky, and Jenny's like, I don't know if this is actually a good idea. But she doesn't care. Nicky gets to the pub first and sits with Daisy. It's a bit awkward, and Nicky is not very happy when Daisy reveals that she's trying to set her up. And it's footballer Ashley, and it also looks like Ashley recognises Nicky from somewhere.
That was a good moment. So I didn't have any idea that who it was going to be. I was kind of thinking who could it be that she gets them set up with. So it was quite a nice surprise to see.
It was
Ashley
nice
back
to see
again,
Ashley
because
back,
I did enjoy their scene at some awards or something, wasn't it, that he took her to last year when he was being very vacuous.
He's my second favourite footballer on the show.
After James or Tommy O.
Tommy O.
James is like fifth.
He's
after Warren Baldwin.
And
David Barlow.
David Barlow.
I thought that was quite funny, and that the look that Ashley gave when he looks and he saw Nicky.
Yeah,
was
he's
funny.
Ashley's all awkward. He goes to the loo, and Nicky tells Daisy that it's not into me, I'm leaving. She tries to go, Daisy stops her. Beth and Kirk see Nicky coming out of the pub later, and Beth is not happy to see her, because the last time they had anything to do with Nicky was when Sinead had just died and Daniel was paying her to wear the dead woman's cardigan. Yeah.
Kirk doesn't mind though. He's like, oh, hello. Hey, Nicky.
Oh, Sinead. Oh, sorry. Inside, Daisy wants to know what Ashley's done to make Nicky go. And he's like, look, sorry, didn't want to say anything, but I do know her. She's Tiffany Blue Knight. She's a sex worker. I know.
I did enjoy. Oh, sorry, the cat's just
jumping on. Carry on, Michael.
I thought that was a good pseudonym for Nicky. Now this was an Ian Kershaw written episode, so I did tweet Ian on Wednesday night and say, did you come up with a name? And he said there were alternatives, but they weren't all okayed.
No.
by the pre-9 p.m. watershed board at the Coronation Street place. So, anyway, Tiffany Blue Lights was good.
Daniel catches up with Nicky. He tells him about how she knew Ashley, and he's like, look, she's not a sex worker anymore. She is now a TA, and that's a different job. So don't define her by her career. Daniel returns.
Well, he says that she shouldn't be defined by a job that she left ages ago, and it wasn't that long ago, really, was it? Was it last year? Was it the year before?
The elephant in the room here is that he gave her 5 grand
ago,
to go, and from what I gather, work as a maid in a B&B in Lytham St Anne's.
Yeah.
And what does she invest that money in? Marigolds. If you're specialised enough, you could have had those marigolds from when you were a sex worker.
Yeah, exactly. Sally would.
Sally,
She's
yeah.
got a whole dressing up box full.
Exactly. I think Sally's kinkier than Nicky ever was.
She is, isn't she?
Inside.
She's dressing up as old Fergus now, isn't she, Sally?
That
tonight?
was weird. Right.
Maybe she could, maybe if Fergus dies, Sally can go around Izzy's house and do a sexy striptease for her as Fergus. No?
No.
Maybe not.
I think if Sally really wanted to get Tim's gears going, she should have gone, "Hi, Tim. I've put all of your food in alphabetical order. Do you want me to make you some soup?"
She just needs to dress up as his mum.
That's it. That was my joke.
Yeah. Thanks.
So
I just wanted to make it my own.
Make it your own, okay.
Steal it from you.
Daniel goes back to the pub and he tries to look surprised when Daisy tells him that Nicky had another job. Daisy is Daisy's like very, what's the word? She's not very sympathetic.
No, well, she's got an awesome piece of gossip, hasn't she?
Well, she's also a bit annoyed.
And she's pleased. She's like the cat that's got the cream.
Well, yeah, she's like, I can't believe it. She's working with kids and everything. I think she's washed her hands since. It's okay. Daniel says it's just something she did when she was hard up. Her face drops when Beth tells Daisy that she's surprised that Daisy was cool with Daniel hanging out with Nicky, considering her past, and then Daisy realises that everybody knew this and she didn't. She's the only one that didn't know. So she goes off to get revenge. She's really angry at Daniel later, tells him what she's found out. He says, "Look, I never paid her for sex. I just paid her to wear a cardigan." It's very awkward and weird. I don't know whether this was better.
Yeah, he doesn't particularly hold back. He does withhold information.
Well, he doesn't tell her about the 5 grand. And he also doesn't explain...
He doesn't say at that point that we did eventually have sex. He tells her later in the episode, doesn't he? But at this point, he just says about the weird Sinead dressing up shenanigans that they got up to.
Yeah, and he also doesn't say that he nicked that money either.
I can't remember.
Something happened with that money that was weird.
It came from Jeff, didn't he? He found it down the back of a sofa or something. I don't know.
So, the next scene, Daniel's chasing Nicky down the street chasing Daisy down the street, going, "I never wanted to have sex with Nicky." And Max is there, and he's overheard.
Yeah, he hears them talking about Tiffany Blue Nights.
So Max goes home and Voggles it. And he's like, "Interesting."
Ooh, what have I found?
Back at the flat, Daisy asks Daniel.
I blame Shona and David for not having parental filters on their child's laptop, and they should be monitoring his internet use because he's only 15.
Who's got time for that? Back at the flat, Daisy asks Daniel how he's okay with an ex-hooker, she says, working at a school. And he says it was over a year ago and she's got a kid to feed and he's going to help her turn her life around. Yes, I had sex with her, but I didn't pay for it. Oh, God. She says, right, unless you refuse to work with her, me and you are finished. On Friday, shocking. Daisy confronts Nicky in the street and she says, Nicky kind of tries to be hard, doesn't she? And she's like, "Leave me alone. I've done nothing. I was hard up."
She's supposed to be like empowering, isn't she? Like I'm not ashamed of what I've done.
No, she was. No.
What?
No, she wasn't saying that. She was saying I had no choice. There's
two different. Right, doesn't she? Yeah.
Coronation Street has not got its story straight with Nicky yet at all, and people are very. Feels like people are simultaneously saying that it's empowering, but also it's nothing to be ashamed of, which doesn't mix to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
And also, if Daniel says she's going to turn her life around, then that means that
exactly.
there must be something wrong with her life before.
Well, exactly. This whole thing is like...
And then you got Beth just saying, she's a dirty prozzer.
Nicky did not want to do this. I don't think it's fair on the character to say that she was ever empowered by what she did for a living.
No, I remember she was saying in this bit, like, she used to go home and scrub herself till she bled and stuff.
And I don't think that is an out of order opinion to have about somebody who was forced into it by her circumstances. She had to do it for a kid. She's like, don't worry about me. I didn't do anything. I haven't done anything to you. I hated it. I'm not interested in Daniel. So Daniel comes around to see Daisy and he says, sorry I lied to you about Nicky. I was just embarrassed. And she says, okay, fine, but stay away from her. I don't want you to have anything to do with her. At lunchtime, Daniel's marking in the cafe because he is a lazy arsehole. And Nicky comes in and he says, why don't you sit with me?
That doesn't make sense, does it? Sorry, just to go back to that again, rewinding. So she says, oh, you don't want to do your marking in the staff room, do you? And he's like, oh no, I don't want to go in there. He's got a classroom.
He's like, I can't go in my classroom because people use it for meetings.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Miss Crawshaw's got a meeting in there because she doesn't actually have an office of her own.
No.
I think Nicky's got an office. Where else would she put her plants? But...
Yeah, she's like, can you look after my snake plant for me? Because I've got to find a new office. So, yeah, he's marking in the office. Nicky comes in and he's like, she's like, I can't be friends with you anymore. It's so sad. You're the only person I know at work.
Make new friends.
Yeah, your third day in.
Yeah.
Stop spritzing your snake plant.
If you just started a job and you want to make friends, maybe you should be hanging around in the staff room, like, talking with some of the other TAs or something.
Yeah, don't.
She's just being a leech onto Daniel.
So he says, we just need to wait for Daisy to get used to the idea of us working together. Then he puts his hands on the top of hers, and then Daisy walks in, and because Jenny had seen him going in there and she wanted to have lunch with him, and oh dear, that's a bit drama, isn't it?
Yeah, she just happens to walk in there just at the very moment where Daniel's hand is on top of hers.
Well, I just want
one of many coincidences in this week's Coronation Street.
I just want to point out here that not only did Daniel immediately go back on what he said he was going to do, whether or not it was reasonable for him to have been asked this in the first place is irrelevant to the fact that he agreed to do it and then immediately went back on it, and not only that, but said, we will continue to do this because she's got to get used to the fact that I'm not going to pay any attention to what her wants and desires are in this relationship.
He was terrible this week. I'll
Everyone
stand by
was
Daniel, and I kind of like Daniel and everything, and I think he's generally honourable-ish. But tonight, I was like, come on now. You're just saying, oh, don't mind my girlfriend. She'll get over it.
Yeah.
That's bad.
That's not very good.
He deserves what he ended up getting today.
And I also don't understand, if somebody told me, sorry, my girlfriend is jealous and she doesn't want me to hang out with you, that would weird me out so much that I would say, okay, and then never speak to them again. Because I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like, that's just weird. I don't even think of you like that. Why are you bringing that up? I don't want to be friends with you then.
But she does.
I wouldn't need to be told twice to leave someone else's boyfriend alone. So, where are we?
We're on to Max now.
Oh yeah, Max is right. So this was quite funny. Max is there, and all the teens are like, we don't like you anymore. And then he says,
Max
hey,
isn't popular, is he?
Look at this porn on my phone. It's the TA. And they're like, you're cool now.
Half of them probably don't even recognise her because she's only just worked there for 2 days, and
I
they
know,
probably haven't had a lesson with her yet.
Yeah, who cares? So they're all laughing, and then she comes around the corner.
I think Max has got an idea for his next film project for the AV Club.
Tiffany Blue Nights.
Mrs. Wheatley, yeah.
Okay, so she comes around the corner and she's like, right, lads, get back to class. And they go, and then...
You're like, oh, you're punishing us, miss.
Yeah, Max is like, oh, do you want to punish me, miss? And then she's like, oh, good God, what are they talking about? Have they figured something out? And then Mrs. Crawshaw finds Nicky and she's like, come into the English classroom to talk about confidential matter. I need to talk to you about something.
I would take you to the cafe to talk about this confidential matter, but it's 5 minutes till the end of lunch.
Yeah. That doesn't stop him normally. Meanwhile, Daniel's back in the pub with Daisy, and he's like, I didn't need to go back to school. Do you remember that? I didn't need to go back. Saying, no, I was just consoling her because I'm her friend. Just because I caressed her hand, and we had sex before, and I lied about it, and she used to be a sex worker. Don't be jealous. I don't understand why you're so mad about it. Just because I told you 5 minutes before I wouldn't do that. You can trust me, I promise you. He says that he's the only person at the school that she knows, so of course she has to be his friend. And he says there's nothing else you need to know about this. I promise we'll sort this out together. So again, he's lying because he hasn't mentioned this money.
I don't think the money's going to come into it.
The money's not going to come into it because they can't explain why suddenly this TA job is the only thing that's standing between her
She's
child,
had the calling,
homelessness,
Gemma. You wouldn't understand. I'm not in education.
No, I'm not in education, and neither is she.
The clouds part, and then you get a message from on high saying you
will have no social life.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh yes, please.
Oh, it sounds brilliant. I hate people.
Yeah, me and Nicky, we both had that.
Yeah, but I just want to point out, when she came back though from living in St Anne's, she was very blasé about the fact that she just couldn't be arsed with it. Like, oh, who knew there was so much bed sheet changing in a B&B business? Not me.
You just thought she'd have been used to washing the sheets after her last job.
Oh my god! But you see what I mean, though. She this was her dream to go here, and she needed £5,000, which didn't make sense. She got the money. She went off. She came back like 2 years later, going, "That was crap. I'm going to be a TA now." She gets 2 days into it. She's like, "Right, bye." Can't be doing with this either. I just don't buy her. That this is her only.
No. She'd do anything to feed that little kid of hers. See, we've lost where we are in the notes again now, aren't we?
Right,
we're here. Crawshaw.
Yeah, Mrs. Crawshaw's like, listen, I know that people can do all kinds of rude pictures that are fake and do them in Photoshop. So if you see any of me, it's definitely fake. All these. So maybe that's happened to you too. Is it some kind of horrible prank? Because Tiffany Blue Night sounds like a made up name. She also says
I don't know what Orla's online a stripper or sex worker name would be, but it could just be an anagram.
Okay. Right.
Come on, Gemma.
No. The pictures have appeared on a parent chat group, and she's like, "Oh, is this all a lie?" No, I know they should be banned. She says it's true, and then Mrs. Crawshaw says, "Like, remember when you got this job?" And you signed a bit of paper, and one of the things on it was like, I definitely was not a sex worker, and I didn't put any pictures of myself online, and there's no videos.
Tick that box, should you, Nicky?
Why didn't you say anything then? Because it's a breach of your contract.
That reminds me. Why is Nicky wearing a necklace with the word Nicky on just above a cleavage?
Why is that a problem?
Because when you're at work at a school, the kids aren't going to call her Nicky, are they? She's
know.
Ms. Wheatley. So it's supposed to be a state secret. You're not supposed to let children know you've got a first name.
When you find out your teacher's first name, it's like you've discovered the true name of God.
I know. I still get kids at school now coming to me and say, I know your name, and I know some of the other teachers' names. Like, well, don't say it.
It's out loud because then I'll burst into flames.
To you. But yeah, Nicky's kind of giving it away a little bit.
Well, she's giving it all away, but for a price. So she's like, you didn't say anything about this, so when you applied to it, it's a breach of your contract, you're suspended, and we're probably going to fire you. Your position here is untenable.
Yes.
Daniel sees Nicky leaving the school with a box of... Do you think there's just like one prop that all the shows
leaving
and TVs...
the job box.
Yeah, they're like, I need to leave the job box. Has anybody seen it?
Now, that little scene there.
Get through this.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, carry on.
The cat's gone.
Cat's
that little scene there, which was outside the entrance to that bit of the school, was actually a little hut, isn't it, in the car park in Media City. So when you go in through the main gates on your Coronation Street tour, that's one of the first things you see, and it's like a little... I can't remember what it's called. Is it like Victoria Lodge or something?
There's probably a picture of it somewhere.
So it's a little I don't know what they do in there.
So if you're going on a tour in an upcoming weekend,
yes,
keep an eye out
It's just there on the right when you go through.
Yeah.
Just a bit of behind the scenes
Nicky's leaving. She's crying. She says the parents found out somehow. I don't know how they did it. Daniel immediately suspects it's Daisy, and he says, "I'll fix it." And she's crying. Then Daisy's in the pub, and Maria and Shayna are talking about what's happened. And David is like, "Oh, look at this." Oh, she looks dead classy.
Oh, yeah, because he's
really funny in this
scene. He's on the parents' chat group, isn't he?
Yeah. Daniel comes in and he says, "Daisy, just got one thing to say to you. You're a spiteful cow. Bye." Daisy's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" She's only just found out what's happened here. She follows him outside, and Daniel says, "You're malicious. I can't believe you did this. She's going to lose her job in her flat, and she's got a kid. We're over." And they get quite aggressive with each other, don't they?
Because really aggressive.
He's really horrible to her, and she's like poking him in the chest and stuff. Later on, you keep writing Daisy and Nicky very interchangeably, Michael.
Oh, it's just like Lydia and Linda all over again.
Nicky's in Daniel's flat. She's crying, "Oh, I'm going to be homeless. I've got to pay my deposit. Now I can't." Something about she can't stay with her mum because the council will evict them. And Daniel's like, "You can stay here with me." Oh my God, you idiot. Jenny finds Daisy with tears in her eyes in the Rover's back room. And she asks if it was her who outed Nicky. And Daisy swears it wasn't her. And the fact that Daniel thinks it was her shows how little he thinks of her. I mean, that's very true. Yeah. The fact that immediately he was like, "Well, it's definitely that bitch."
I know that she's got a reputation, and I know lots of people are sitting online are saying, "Oh, can we all just remember back to that time when Daisy drugged Daniel and kind of lured him up to the bedroom?" Oh, Ryan, sorry, wasn't it? Lured him up to the bedroom. She was quite nasty there. Do you remember pretty much all of last year on the podcast when Michael was saying what a cow Daisy is? Remember that, everybody? But I completely on her side all of this week. She's been severely mistreated by her man, and she deserves to. He deserves a good finger in the chest jabbing from her.
Later on, Daniel just happens to be there when Shayna's outside with Max shouting very loudly about the fact that it was him that showed the picture of Nicky on the internet. And Daniel's like, "Oh no, it was you that started this." And Max is like, "No." And Shayna says, "Well, I looked at your internet on your laptop, so I know it was you." And she marches him inside, and Daniel's like, "Oh dear." Have I wronged me bird?
Not the most thrilling cliffhanger to keep me watching on Monday.
But... No, yeah, it's not really a cliffhanger, was it? It was just like, derp.
No, like in normal circumstances, that might just be the end of a scene, but
yeah,
it did for the end of the week.
Daniel and Daisy should just never speak to each other again.
It's a real shame, because I thought they were quite good as a couple. I enjoyed them last year.
Well, the thing is, they were kind of chalk and cheesy enough for it to be interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They weren't really suited to each other, but they, despite all of that, they had some weird chemistry. And she was what? It
was just like a stupid 90s American comedy, like, "He's the brains and she's the beauty. How will they ever get on?"
It was. It's just like Ken and Deirdre.
She's sexy Specs and he's Mr. Boring.
No, I really at the beginning didn't think that they were at all suited, and the whole thing about her wanting to get involved with him because of the money from Denise's house.
Yeah,
I thought
that's gone nowhere. Wait for Nicky to find out about that. I tell you what. Oh, I mean, if you got a house I can live in.
Maybe been forgotten about.
Well, wasn't he selling it? Or was he renting it out? I mean, he owns a house. Why does she have to move in with him? Can't he say, look, Nicky, I don't know if you know this.
Got a set.
Maybe you are confused because you get all of your information from watching dodgy television programs, but there are more jobs in the world than B&B, work in a school, or be a sex worker. Those are just 3 jobs. There's shops.
Yeah. Knicker stitching, you be any good at that?
Cafes.
Yeah.
Can you make onion bhajis?
You can work in the cabin and sell newspapers. I hear from Shona that's a really easy job because she's been working there for like 2 months now, and we've not seen her done a single shift. No. What's going on with that? Why aren't we staying inside the cabin anymore?
She could be a hairdresser. You only have to cut Stu's hair twice, and you win an award.
Yeah, there's plenty of options open to you, Nicky. You don't have to do this.
You don't have to lower yourself to being a TA.
I of all the stories this week, and like we said at the start of this, I wasn't particularly into Corrie this week. I did enjoy this one the most, I'm going to say. I thought that I was definitely on Daisy's side all week. It's a real shame what's happened between her and Daniel, because like I said, they had the makings of possibly a good couple, and I'm not saying they won't get back together. They probably. Do you think they'll get back together, Daniel and Daisy? Do you think
I don't know.
I think there's enough potential for the two of them together. And
I guess
she was reading a fancy book and everything earlier this week, wasn't she? She was sitting in the back of the Rovers with a posh, quite thick book in between it. And
wow,
she's like,
thick book, you say?
Read the book. It's thicker.
Listen, I want to say, Daisy and Daniel's relationship was doomed the minute Daniel sent Nicky a poem by email.
Oh, yeah.
He's cheating on her before anything even happened.
What happened the last time you gave a girl a poem, Daniel? Remember that? Remember with summer? No,
everyone just pretends to read them. They're not interested in your stupid, boring poems.
Even though Daniel absolutely does not deserve her forgiveness at the moment, I would much prefer her to Daisy to get back with Daniel than Nicky. I'm not too fussed about Nicky being in the show, to be fair.
I think you're being very problematic here, because Daisy was very rude and unsympathetic towards Nicky when she found out of her past.
Well, we
have to address.
She doesn't like Nicky hanging around, and she thought that she had a massive piece of goss that could get her into a bit of trouble.
Yeah,
but she didn't get her into trouble. I don't think she was particularly judging her. Oh, she was a little bit.
She was judging her.
She was maybe just.
She was judging her. Even Nicky, but the thing is, Nicky was judging herself as well. Nicky's like, I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
But
what?
When Daisy was saying, "Oh, what? Shouldn't be allowed around kids." It's like,
I completely.
I think
it was a very unwise decision to get a job. Sorry. If you've got that, if there's literally websites that are very easily accessible online that show you doing that, or your adverts or whatever, it's not unlikely. It's not unlikely that someone's going to find out about it. It doesn't.
I do think it was only a matter of time.
Who's been an escort or a sex worker can't work with kids, obviously. But if a group of teenagers find out, and it was her second day working there that found out, that just shows what people are like. And I know that was inevitable. That was a consequence of somebody happening to be there at just the right time to overhear something. Everybody knew, everybody learns everything these days.
Everybody knew, so it was only a matter of time.
It was only going to be the first parents' evening, to be fair, where one of them's going to sit down and go, "I know you.
I remember you."
Yeah, you got around a bit, didn't you? It's
very judgmental, Michael. Very judgmental. No, I think
she should have declared it on a job application form.
I like the way that she was like, "If I declared it, you probably wouldn't have hired me, would you?" And Miss Crouch was like, "Probably not." I'm thinking you would have done, because she wasn't even your first choice.
No, she wasn't. She was the backup, wasn't
she? Somebody in Weatherfield is getting a phone call right now. They're going, "Right, do you know how we told you like 2 weeks ago? Well, we've gone through 2 of them already.
Yeah.
Do you still want the DA? It's a good job 3 people turned up."
I know. Anyway,
but listen, I wanted to say, when Daisy's saying, "Oh, why she shouldn't be allowed around children," that's obviously a very horrible thing to say, but there's definitely questions like, it's not very good for children's safeguarding, is it? To like, they can stumble across pictures.
It's basically asking the children to go online searching for pictures.
I don't know. I don't want to be judgmental and mean about like Nicky's past life. It just is very unfortunate. The world that we live in is just not compatible, these two things, especially not like 2 years.
True, but I must admit that at the moment, as convenient as it was when Max overheard them having this slanging match in the street, which, by the way, kind of your own fault. You're asking about it if you're going to do this in public. But when Max overheard it and he did his like, oh, what's this? I did have a bit of a little chuckle. I thought, oh, this could be good. And
Max is just a horrible boy, isn't he?
It wasn't like a massive nuclear bomb dropped or anything, but he caused.
So is he still just trying to get
fallout for me to enjoy that bit of it?
Is he just trying to get at Daniel, or was it just hilarious to him that Nicky was?
I don't even know anymore.
No, he just seems like just a malignant tumour in the form of a child.
Yeah, I think that if he had found that about any of his teachers, he probably would have done it.
Honestly, I think any kid at school would have done the same thing. Really, honestly.
Especially that school, knowing what children at that school are like from previous storylines.
Even if you only found out and told one of your friends, you'd still tell them, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to look at it on the internet and go, well, this is a holy secret I must never tell. It's on the internet. If you're a kid, you're going to go, oh, look at this.
Yeah, well, we've seen that with Asher a couple of years ago as well, haven't we? And with Summer's pictures recently. Unfortunately, these things happen, and it's bad that they do.
I've got a confession to make. I've just had a memory. I've just remembered something from middle school.
What?
I remember when I was in middle school. So in middle school, we had a hall, and we had 2 floors in our school. And so the second floor of the school, you could look down into the hall from the classroom. So it wasn't actually a classroom. It was like a library area and seating outside the classrooms. And I remember one time, for some reason, we were like making something out of newspaper, and this was like back in the day when the Sun used to have page 3.
Yeah.
So going through all the things, I was like, I found page 3, girl. And I was like, ha ha ha! And so I took the picture and I put it against the window while all these kids were doing PE downstairs. And then they all started pointing and looking up. And I went, oh, this is probably a bad idea. And ran away.
How old were you?
I was in middle school. 10? Yeah, I think I must have been 9 or 10. I thought it was the best thing I'd ever done in my life.
That's the worst thing. Whenever I'm doing art in the afternoon and I get some kids to help me put the newspaper down on the tables, it's like, oh, please don't let there be anything like that there.
And I also remember teachers bringing in like old like clothes catalogues or whatever, and all the boys going, look at the bras and the pants.
So
kids are just naughty, aren't they?
They are very, very naughty, and of course we are not endorsing any of this behaviour, but
I'd probably get arrested if I did that now.
We're saying that,
well, I would get arrested if I showed that picture.
Lots of children are like.
Children are naughty, and I totally, what's the word? I admonish myself from the future.
Yes, absolutely. So this story was kind of fun. Were you on Daisy's side as well this week, or did you have?
No, I didn't. No. I think Daisy was mean. I think most of it was motivated from shock that Daniel had lied to her.
Yeah, well, so she deserves to get a bit of revenge on him.
I just like, no matter what you think about what Nicky did, I just can't see anybody really feel like, how can you feel so entitled to judge her? Like, maybe you agree or maybe you don't. It doesn't mean that she needs to hear your opinion about it shouted into her face.
She was, especially towards the beginning of the week, maybe a little bit too much on the possessive side. I will admit was Daisy. But yeah, everything that happened.
I think Daisy's just in the second her and Daniel.
Half of this episode, absolutely on Team Daisy.
Bad mix, because she's insecure and he does nothing whatsoever to assuage her fears.
She's mega insecure, and she's one of these people that you wouldn't necessarily suspect that, considering all the front that she has, and on her Instagram pictures and everything. But she definitely is.
Well, listen, people who lack confidence sometimes overcompensate by, putting on this, facade.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of confidence to look like me. Slobbing around with a Christmas t-shirt on at
the end of April. Yeah. Well, we've seen a number of times in the past when she's kind of opened up and she's got a sensitive side and all that. So, yeah, anyway.
Well, I don't agree with any of it.
I kind of enjoyed that story. But I just didn't think that the cliffhanger at the end of tonight's was strong enough.
Out of everybody, I think Nicky's the one who's the least done anything wrong, but I just don't really like her.
She didn't tick the box, Gemma, on her application form. That's a legal document.
It's like when you go to America and they're like, are you a terrorist? And you're like, oh no, what if I get this wrong? Better say, no, I definitely am not.
So what we're saying, are you saying that sex workers are terrorists now? The terrorists of schools?
I don't think that you can put those words in my mouth.
We have to have a drill every half term with the sex worker drill. There's a woman in fishnets in the playground. What are we going to do?
Like, oh, quick! I forgot.
Under your desk.
When it's this, do I take my bag or leave it? I can't remember. So if it's a bomb, I take it, right? But if it's a sex worker, I leave the bag, or is that just for fires?
What if the bag's got a pregnancy test on top of it?
Put it in the bin.
Next story. Terrible stuff.
What? Are we
We've
cancelled?
been awful. I think we will be after tonight's episode. Summer burnout. That to another crazy kid. So she's still stressing out.
Can't say crazy.
She's working really,
Got to
really
say,
hard.
doolally.
She's very doolally. She's got diabetes. What's it called? I can't remember.
Bulimia. What are you talking about?
Diabulimia.
What?
I think that's what she's
Is that
called.
a word?
I think you have a look at it on your phone.
Diabulimia.
Right. Yes, when it's
very
really,
serious.
really bad. Right, so Amy comes round the flat on Monday to have another study session with Summer. Billy, am I right? That's how I got it. Billy goes off to the soup kitchen because, that's what you do as an archdeacon. Mm-hmm. Billy, I got to go and do some archdeaconing. It's Easter Monday.
It's like people keep going on to me about blah, blah, Easter something. I don't know, but I've got to go.
Got to go and serve some minestrone up. Summer tells Amy she doesn't need looking after. Then we have Jacob come round later, and he was flipping brilliant this week. I think he was only in on Monday's episode, but he saved that.
No, he's awful.
For me.
He's
like,
naughty.
Rent is due, but we haven't got enough money to pay it. What are we going to do? Don't worry, I'm going to sort it later. So he goes off down the street and has a little confrontation with Simon later, just to remind us that they hate each other. He heads into the corner shop, and it turns out that Evelyn's had a bit of an Olive at the Bistro situation here. She's bought too many. She's bought 3 times too many boxes of blue Alka Pops as she actually wanted. So Jacob says, don't worry, doll. I will take them off your hands for £60 and I'll give you 10% of the profits. Shake on it. So he's outside Victoria Gardens later, doing quite well, as it happens. He's quite good at peddling the old narcotics.
It's funny how if you sell alcohol to people with no ID, they'll pay anything you ask them for.
Yeah, exactly. Good bit of business there. Summer comes over, and then Amy says, did you really lose your phone at home? Because they go out, and then Amy heads back in saying
Amy
that she's lost her phone.
Hang on. Amy knows that Summer has bulimia.
Yes. Oh, yeah, so Summer's gone back home. Amy says, are you sure you lost your phone, or are you just you're making yourself sick? And Summer said, I'm fed up of you constantly having a go and suspecting me all the time, checking up on what I'm doing, think whenever I'm off on my own and making myself sick, just back off, Amy.
Back off, woman.
Then Simon comes out of the co-op and he phones the police and says, there's a scary boy outside Victoria Gardens. Are you selling something suspicious to teenagers? I think it might be drugs.
It is drugs.
What a nasty boy.
It's the
that
best
Simon
drugs
is.
in the world.
Simon
Alcohol.
and Max, terrible people. So a bit later, and Summer is looking a little bit peaky in Victoria Gardens.
She's like, "Oh, I've come over all faint. I'm just gonna collapse on this big pile of alcohol."
Yeah, and Jacob can't be there to save her because he's had to scarp her because the police have shown up, and that was quite funny because Evelyn was there with Cerberus, wasn't she? And she's like, "Quick, it's the Rozzers!"
I know, I love that. She's like,
Jacob
"Run!"
Legs it down the road, pushing his trolley of Alka Pops. There, great.
But he left some behind.
He left some behind. So
I love this. The Weatherfield police are just the dumbest bunch of idiots in the world. They genuinely thought that Summer, a teenage girl, has gone to a park and she's brought with her 4 crates of Alka Pops.
Are there only 2?
And nobody's like, nobody saw her. She's not trying to hide it or anything. Middle of the day, on a Monday, completely sozzled out of her brain.
What's a bank holiday? Time for jollity.
I tell you what, though. Parks around the country on Monday afternoon were probably full of people with big crates of Alka Pops.
So the police get there. Summer's looking pretty woozy.
They're like, here's a clue.
They see the bottles of Alka Pops there, put 2 and 2 together and say, we don't need to test her. She's clearly... No, they don't. They don't think that she's drunk, do they? They think that she's been... No, well, they think that she's had more than that because Simon reported Jacob for selling some drugs outside, didn't he? So they say, she looks like that she's had some drugs or something.
Do you think so? I thought...
Yes, they literally said that.
I would have thought that they would have a duty of care. Because, when you're drunk, they go, chuck them in the cells until they sober up.
Well, they looked after her. They chucked her in a police car and then chucked her in the cells. They didn't test her for anything or get, the police doctor or anything to look on her. No.
You're pregnant.
So they take her into the police station. Simon later tells Amy what he saw, and Amy's a bit confused about this. Why would Summer be drinking? And she guesses that Simon was the one who called the police. And she is absolutely livid at him. Heads off to the station to go and help Summer out. Amy and Ardy...
What a good friend she is.
Yes.
They are. Amy and Ardy are good friends.
They are. They're lovely. They come into the police station. Luckily, Officer Craigie's there. He's back to work now, isn't he? 'Cause I tell you what would have happened if Craig had been back in the police station. Someone would have died in that cell there. But he's having a nice little chat with the desk sergeant.
Yeah.
And they say, Craig, you got to go and help Summer. But could be your blood sugars are low or something. And he's like, what? Summer's been brought into the cells? I didn't know. Nobody told me this. Dashes in, finds her collapse and goes, quick, call an ambulance. And then goes and checks that she's okay.
If I was a policeman working in a community where I lived and knew everybody, first half an hour of my shift would be me walking up and down the cells going, what did you do now?
Yeah. It's got to be someone in there at least every day, isn't it? At least one person. Yeah. So Summer's taken off to hospital.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes.
That I have heard people who have diabetes say before that when they have like a crash because of their blood sugar, often people don't help them because they think they're drunk.
Okay.
And it's very sad.
But
it's scary though if you see somebody who's sort of like disorientated. You sometimes get scared because you think, what if they are drunk and they attack me or something?
I'd like to have seen the police officers saying that if Summer had died. Sorry, Gov. Most people don't think that they're drunk when that happens. We didn't need to test. It's just like, common knowledge.
It's not just us that does it.
They're usually drunk.
Well, just if you can help somebody, try and help them.
Yes.
Don't just assume that
she's fine.
Although it's a fair guess. In this country.
Yes. Billy arrives at the hospital, very grateful to Amy and Ardy for alerting the police to Summer's plight. And she's fine.
She's fine.
She's sitting up. She's okay in the bed. And I was watching this thinking, that was a bit of a storm in a teacup, really, wasn't it? Nice bit of a break cliffhanger, but she's all right, really.
She's fine.
She says she just forgot to eat her lunch. And then a doctor reminds her she really must prioritise her diabetes, actually, to keep your blood sugar stable. So there's the lesson for today.
Yeah,
back home. Yep, she's back home again. She's literally, 2 scenes ago, she was collapsed in the park, and now she's back again doing her revision for Oxford.
Everybody, is where your council tax goes.
Can we just applaud the NHS for their fine work they did with Summer on Monday's episode?
It's not council tax that pays for that, though. I was talking about the Rosses.
Anyway, she's rather embarrassed about what happened. Billy blames himself for not paying more attention to her food and meds and everything, but he's going to be so on it now. So he sees Amy in the street later and thanks her. She comes clean about discovering Summer making herself sick last week, and Billy's like, blimey, this sounds a bit like bulimia. He's terrified that this could sound even worse for Summer. What with her diabetes and everything. Diabetes, bulimia, you have... Diabulimia, that's right. So he goes home, asks Summer... Bilites. Billy goes home, asks Summer, got anything you need to get off your chest? Anything you need to tell me, young Summer? And she realises that he's been speaking to Amy. She's got to come clean about what she's been doing.
I felt really bad for her.
Sick. And Billy says, look, you could have gone into a coma. She sobs, she knows, she wants to stop, but she doesn't think she can. So
she's not doing it for...
She's not doing it for what?
She's a compulsion, isn't it?
Yes. She has a good old cry, tells Billy that she's so fed up with this. She just wants to be able to eat and drink normally, especially with a friend. She says, I would go out, and we say, let's go for a pizza, but what will Summer think? And she just wants to feel normal.
It's like being a vegan.
She's been making herself sick since Christmas, but I've only been in a story for a couple of weeks, so it's not so bad, is it?
Haven't been scheduled.
She wants to stop, but she doesn't know how. She hates her diabetes so much, and she thinks she's let Billy down. And Billy says, don't worry, look, we got a story out of it. So, every cloud...
We could be nominated for Best Family.
Yeah, we could. I hear that the British Soap Awards nominations are coming out in a couple of days. Come on, the Mayhew Spellmans.
Adopted child who likes robots. Yeah. It's practically
in the bag. It's in the bag. He promises that he'll get her help through this, and Summer's she's going to get herself some professional help. So that was actually quite a nice scene between Billy and Summer.
I felt really bad for her because when you've got an eating disorder, doesn't matter what kind of eating disorder it is, it's almost always hinging upon an obsession with food. Whether it's overeating, undereating, or bulimia, or whatever it is. And I don't know how you overcome it, because if I did, I wouldn't be fat. But she cannot stop thinking about food because she's diabetic. So she has to think about it. She has to constantly be sort of obsessing about what she's eating. And that's very, see, this is the thing, when you start dieting and things, you have to be really careful that you don't obsess about what you're putting into your mouth the whole time. Because being vigilant is one thing, but being obsessive, this is what leads to eating disorders. So I'm not surprised that this has happened to her.
Yeah, and not surprised that it happens to lots of people as well.
Adding in also the worry about her weight as well. The whole thing is just, it seems like
she's doing her
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often to people. And I think it is not that uncommon.
Well, here's my tip for coping with this if you have this problem.
Go on, tell me.
Well, you just finish off this story and then you forget about it, and then it's not
just
part of your character anymore.
Yeah. Just forget you've got it, like how Amy forgot she was lactose intolerant.
That does get brought up every now and
Because,
then.
you know, she's saying, oh, we'll go out with my friends, and everyone's like, let's go for pizza. And
let's
they're
go
like,
for a milkshake. Oh, we can't, Amy's with us.
Well, no, listen.
Let's go for ice cream. We can't, Amy's with us.
They go, let's go for pizza, and everyone's looking at Summer, and she's like, well, she can't eat cheese. You're talking about me. Amy can't eat cheese.
That's very true, actually.
So they're both ruining everybody's fun times.
Yeah, that's Amy thinks this is great. Everybody's blaming Summer now.
She's like, really isn't Summer such a drag?
So Wednesday then, Billy gets Todd and Paul together to tell them about the Summer situation. The gay dads all together. They all need to keep an eye on her eating. It was, wasn't it?
I loved it.
Yes. Summer walks in and is no mood for any of their pity.
No.
So she heads off to Victoria Gardens, where she's found by Ardy, and she admits she's kind of glad that Billy knows, but she's fed up of people checking up on her.
Well, that's not going to help, is it? What? You know, the idea that everybody's scrutinising you. That's also going to feed into it.
Exactly. So Todd goes to the cafe and says, right, Shona, you need to take note of anything Summer has whenever you come in. Everybody in this street has something here at least twice a day, 2 meals. They come in here and do a little bit of work as well.
Yeah.
So make sure you say
how many
what
cream
Summer
horns
has.
had.
Exactly. But I can't tell you why.
Don't ask me why.
It's a secret.
I'm doing a survey.
And then he goes and talks to Ardy about it as well.
I don't understand what he thinks he's going to achieve, because it doesn't matter what she puts in, it's what comes out that's the problem, and where it comes from.
Well, if Shona tells him that he had that Summer had 10 cream horns, and then they go home later and she says, "Oh, I'm really hungry," then he's going to say, "But you had 10 cream horns." Do
you know, I don't want to ever eat again. It's a cream horn because I had 10 today. He'd be like, "Aha, I know where you got them from."
Yes, exactly. So she goes off to the
Todd goes
corner
to
shop.
See Summer.
I've already done that. No, we've missed a bit. We've got Ardy and Summer at the corner shop where she's buying stuff for the soup kitchen. But Ardy doesn't believe it because he's had the idea put into his head by this point that she's just buying a load of food to scoff herself. So he's obviously serves her, but then he gives Todd a ring. So Todd has a go at Summer when she gets back home later and starts raiding her shopping. Billy walks in on this, of course, and says, no, Todd, it was for the food bank.
So hang on,
has a massive
Billy.
go at Todd for trying to control her, says, you've done nothing but screw with people since you've been back on the programme with your new face. You are toxic,
You're toxic,
mister.
You're horrible. Listen, what? Billy, right, earlier in the week, Billy's like, I got to do the soup kitchen stuff. Oh, God, food bank, blah. Next thing you know, Summer's there doing it. What's he been doing? He's like, he's just going to watch Songs of Praise on YouTube. That's part of my job, isn't it? Da-da. No, that's Antiques Roadshow. Da-da. Da-da.
That's Songs of Praise. I've been on Songs of Praise, everybody.
Well done.
A few times.
Making pasta. What a lie.
Alex Jones.
If there's never a testament, if you wanted to prove everything on television is a lie, all you have to know about it is that Michael was on television
of Songs of Praise.
Making pasta. Probably that's what you could probably count on your hands how many times in your whole life.
There is a longer story behind this, but it's not for now. Billy confirms it was for the food bank. I've already said that. Summer's fed up, so later on
He's
she has a
toxic.
biscuit binge.
Oh.
Billy walks in and says, "What's that you're scoffing with you and your packet
Don't
of
eat
chocolate
biscuits."
digestives?" And she says, "I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hurt myself. This is all just too much for me." And he's like, "I'm going to get you the help you need. Don't worry, Miss Summer."
Just want to point out too, also, the way she was doing it, you could tell she was getting no pleasure from it whatsoever. It was just some kind of mindless compulsion.
Yeah.
It's almost like cutting yourself or something, where it physically can hurt you. It's like you're hurting yourself on purpose. You're not getting any pleasure out of it. You're just kind of trying to offload your thoughts from whatever's worrying you into, oh God, I'm eating biscuits and I don't even like them.
No, well, it wasn't even McVitie's, was it? It was that off-brand that Corrie often uses.
Oh, Kenner's chocolate digestives.
Lovely. So, Friday, Billy tells Summer that Aggie has organised a diabetic support group for her and he's booked her a session today. "But what about my Oxford revision?" says Summer. "I've had 2 days with no revision for my French exam." And he says, "What? Stuff that.
Do it in French, then.
You're going to a diabetes meeting today whether you like it or not. You're not even going to make it to the exam room the rate you're going."
See, I thought she was going to collapse in an exam, so she's...
There's still time. There is still time for
true.
that, Gemma. Where they're obviously doing the exams in Daniel's classroom.
Yeah.
All the exams are done
And
in
she's
there.
stealing all the answers off the Edinburgh flowchart or whatever they had.
I feel bad if they have to use that as an exam room because there's English words all over the wall, aren't there? Like passive and prepositions. And
I thought it was going to be like cafe and
no, so they
mange
have to take it
too.
all down for an exam. Anyway,
All those
turns up
English
at the
words.
meeting later and meets the hilarious new character, Aaron, who jokes that this is a Sex Addicts Anonymous meeting. She's like, "What,
Don't
really?"
say that to her. She's 12.
"No, not really. I'm just a Josher." So
No, he's Aaron.
She seems to like him. He says, "Don't worry, if you just want to listen to your first few times at the meeting, that's fine." And then later on, they've had the meeting. Summer and Aaron are clearly into each other already.
She makes a joke about murdering people.
What does she say?
He says, "Are you a serial killer?" And she says, "No, they're all accidents."
Oh, yeah. That was kind of funny. What she should have said is, no, but my dad is indirectly responsible for the death of Ken Barlow's daughter.
But don't worry about it because he was thrown off the side of a cliff and now it's all cool.
Yeah.
See, if this is the thing, I remember being fascinated with the idea of how to kill people without leaving any evidence. Because there was all that stuff like, oh, you can stab somebody to death with an icicle and then it melts and they'll never find it. Or you can hit them with a leg of lamb and then eat it.
People are going to be using this podcast to commit quite such atrocities.
Those are really
now,
good ideas,
Gemma.
everybody. But the other one I heard was a murderer...
You've not done it, obviously.
I haven't done it. I didn't know how to do it. Somebody injected insulin into somebody, but they did it right in the bit of their toe where your toenail is. They put it under the toenail, like diagonally, so that they couldn't see them thing. So she could be a killer. She's got the insulin. I don't know how you do it with insulin.
Don't give the Corrie writers any ideas, Gemma.
I would love someone to become an insulin serial killer.
Might make her a little bit more interested.
All she needs to do is find out who the other people competing for her place at Oxford are.
Yes,
And just go around the country murdering them all.
Yeah, so she doesn't get into Oxford. She's like, right, do I go through clearing or do I find all my competition and brutally get them murdered?
Don't go through clearing, it's boring. You have to be on the phone.
Yeah. Did you go through clearing to get to Southampton? I thought you did. Where were you going to go?
Why are you being so rude to me?
I'm not. I'm not judging you for going through clearing.
Listen, what happened was I was supposed to get an A and 2 Bs and I got 2 A's and a C. And so all I did was phone up and went, I've got the right number of points, but I haven't got the right thingy. I haven't got the right grades. Is this okay? Because the one I didn't do very well in is biology, and I don't think you need that to do English, do you? And she went, oh, hang on, let me look. Oh, no, that's fine. And I went, thank you, bye.
Oh, easy.
I'm so glad I phoned up because I nearly didn't bother because I was like, that's fine.
And you'd have never met me if you hadn't gone to university. Just think
that one phone call.
That one phone call changed your life, it did. You wouldn't be here doing a podcast, Gemma.
I really literally would not be sitting where I am now if I had not made that phone call.
There we go.
Anyway, what's that got to do with insulin murders?
Nothing. They also reminded me that on Classic Corrie this week, Toy Battersby got her A-level results, didn't she? 3 E's. Shocking stuff.
Oh.
So it could be worse, Summer. I'm sure you're not going to.
But look how she's done.
I know, she's done so well for herself. Look at her handsome fiancé.
I know, not many people can land that fella. Only her and Abby.
Yeah. Although Summer's new boyfriend to be Aaron also quite tall.
Yeah, but you know what I say about tall people?
They make you look like you're standing in a ditch.
No, I say they're literally a waste of space.
That's harsh.
They are, though. You don't need to be tall. I'm a perfectly formed human being. You can be even smaller than me, and I need less. Not that I eat less food, but I need less food to run.
I wish I was taller.
Literally, I think we should eradicate tall people because they are literally killing the planet.
No, I want to be a taller person.
No, you can't. You're
I feel
perfectly.
really sad about being a bit short.
You're not short. You're the perfect size.
I am quite short.
I've said before, I think anything taller than me is waste of space.
Okay. Any thoughts on
You need to be more compact also. You're probably taller on different planets.
We're talking about coronation.
And if they were to decide, we've got to send someone to Mars, who should we send? The first person to Mars. They're not going to pick a tall person, are they? They'll be like, you can't even fit in the capsule.
Okay. Is that why they made Tom Cruise be in Top Gun?
Tom Cruise
close the cockpit
is
hatch
like
on
the most
else.
famous person in the world, and he's like only 4'2".
I think he's the same height as me.
Did you know that he's going to be
and
presenting the Platinum Jubilee celebrations?
No, we're talking about Coronation.
Why is Tom Cruise
we need to
presenting
talk about
the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations? I don't know.
I don't know. Right,
but I love it.
I found that this summer story
Maverick,
was
that's
quite
the
difficult.
soon, isn't it?
Was quite difficult to get behind. As important an issue
this
as this is, I was getting a bit of issues fatigue with this.
Yes,
and there hasn't even been very many issues on Coronation Street recently, has there? There's been Tim with his heart thing. That wasn't particularly an issue. There was upskirting, but that was only there for a little bit. But I'm just kind of watching this going, I'm being preached at about diabetes.
No, it's diabulimia.
And I get how if you've got the diabetes or whatever, then you can I've forgotten what the word is. You can say, yes, I'm going through something similar to Summer, and isn't it awful? Or I could go to a support group. What a lovely idea! I hadn't thought of that. I might meet an Aaron there as well. But I just, with all that aside, I was just watching it thinking, it's a bit dull. I mean, what's happened so far in this story? She binges a load of stuff. She collapses every so often. People find her and go, oh no, Summer could die. And then she gets taken to hospital and actually she's fine. And then she says, having diabetes is really hard. I've got to go to Oxford. Everyone says, there, we'll get you through this. And then, they leave it for a few weeks and then the same thing happens again, but in a slightly different circumstances. It just feels like there isn't much of a story going on here. It's just, look at this person, isn't diabetes sad? Which it is. And I know there's people with diabetes that are watching it and everything, but it's just not particularly exciting for me, and it doesn't help that I'm still not quite buying the new Summer after all this time. I think she's a bit of a drag.
She's a bit of a drag, but that's Summer.
What do you think? Do you feel the same way, or am I just being really mean?
Support group, was it just for diabetes, or was it for people with eating disorders?
I think it was just diabetes.
I was going to say, is it interesting that Aaron was there? Because I just looked up diabulimia. And apparently, the frequency of it is 20% of women with type 1 diabetes, but 40% of men.
Oh, interesting.
I would not have ever guessed that it affects men so much more severely than women. And it is very serious.
Yeah, I know it is, which makes me feel bad for kind of getting a bit down on it.
I don't think people take eating disorders seriously enough, and they are incredibly, incredibly dangerous.
They are. They totally are, but it doesn't mean it's an interesting story when they put certain characters in it that aren't particularly interesting anyway, sorry.
Listen to this. The people with diabulimia have a mean age of death around 45. That's shocking.
I get it. I know it is. But
is this going to turn into another Craig's Got OCD storyline where they're like, let's all discover together how serious and misunderstood this is, and then go, but that was too complicated and boring, so we'll forget that ever happened.
I mean, I'm not even seeing whether they're doing, if you relate to somewhere in this story, go to itv.com/advice, and
I know that
we're not hearing about a load of charities that they're working with.
Because you're not looking.
I'm not looking. That's true. I'm not looking. So maybe.
But if you go to the ITV advice page, it is kind of become a bit of a parody of itself, if you ask me, because it's literally every single storyline is like the charity for this, that, and the other thing, which is it's responsible of them to work with charities and things, but it does not help the cause of trying to defend Coronation Street, where people say it was just a bunch of issues now, and it's preachy.
Yeah,
I don't think they've got a very good balance.
No.
But again, I've said this before. You paint yourself into a corner where everything has to be treated with, extreme severity and reverence, when you've also got people running around, shagging each other wearing stolen hats.
Traffic wardens' caps.
Not everything can be an issues-based storyline, and when you pick and choose which ones are and aren't, you're kind of making a judgment about whether this is actually a problem or not.
But I think that one is an issues-based storyline, and it's an issue of being a bit floppy when you're older.
I thought it was just being weirdly horny, or is there something in the water?
I don't know.
Is there a carbon dioxide monitor going off somewhere in that house?
I think they should have had what they should have done in that Summer and Aaron scene where he says, "Oh, is this the sex addicts meeting?" And she's like, "No." They should have had Sally and Tim standing up and going, "Oh, sorry. Is it not? We've come to the wrong place. Sorry."
They wouldn't go to a meeting for it.
They should. The horny things.
They should.
You haven't told me. I keep trying to get you to tell me. Are you finding this interesting or not?
No.
Thank you. That's all I need to know.
I'm really sorry. I'm not finding it interesting. I think this whole podcast should be scrapped. This is chaos.
No, I think
I'm also
having a nice time chatting with you this evening.
I'm also not doing myself proud, am I? Having so many problematic opinions.
No, it's fine.
Oh dear, fine. I don't care about diabulimia when it's summer.
Can I just say one more thing before we move on to the next storyline? Another good thing with Jacob, a nice little scene, was it on Monday's episode, when Evelyn tells Jacob she knows where he lives, and he's like, no, you don't. And Jack gave a really good delivery of that cheeky line, and then she gets hardly involved. It was funny. You've probably seen it.
Once a dealer, always a dealer.
For it. Right.
Is Jacob going to pick up the mantle of ducker and diver now that Chesney's just forgotten what a market is? Maybe if he remembered that markets exist, he wouldn't have starving children.
I think that he's the Jed Stone of the 2020s.
Good.
And the
Where's his hat?
Next story. Happy Babby Baby. No, this is a good one. Don't stop.
No, but it wasn't in it.
It was in it on Monday.
Yeah, but I don't like this guy. I don't like this man.
Oh, Ben?
No, Imran. No.
He's too tall.
He's a waste of space. Monday, Imran has to go to work for a bit, and Toya's like, oh, suspicious. Imran meets with Ben, who is a paralegal who also is a private detective on the side. And I don't understand how this man has... I don't understand. This is silly. He's not a paralegal, is he? He's just a...
He is.
But he's not... But the whole point, Imran hiring him, is that he was a paralegal. But actually he's hiring him for a completely different job.
Yeah, they should have got Lenny back.
Lenny should have come back. He's great. So he's like, right, prove that Abby is still on drugs. So in the pub later, Imran tells Toya what he's doing and that Ben is going to follow Abby. And Toya's like, this is terrible. I can't do this. Oh,
this
dear.
Sounds very immoral to me.
This is
Imran.
not good. This is
my Toya voice.
Oh, Imran. I can't believe it.
Oh, Percy.
Just listen to me, Toya. It's me, Imran. No, I can't allow it. What would Spider do? That's how I live my life. Wear hideous tights is what Spider would do, apparently. So he says this is gonna really. She says this is gonna mess everything up. If Abby finds out that we've done this, you need to stop doing it. You need to stop. So Imran and Roy meet Elliot. No,
Imran,
Abby and Roy meet Elliot at the cafe, and he says, right, we need to make sure that everybody knows that Imran took advantage of you when you were vulnerable, and he did not defend you properly when he was in court, and that's why you didn't get what you needed out of the hearing. And Abby's like, oh, I don't know if that's really true though, is it? And Toya comes in, and she's like, you snaky, sneaky snooze, how dare you? She has to go at Abby, she has to go at Roy. She says they're sneaky, and they're trying to discredit Imran, and he is so tall. How could you?
Well, they shouldn't have had this very
confidential
meeting in the cafe.
Roy's
and then
like,
that wouldn't have happened, would it?
Roy's like, I do have a private apartment upstairs, but I don't think we should go there because Sam's playing chess with his girlfriend, so don't want to disturb them. Hang on.
Yeah.
Toya goes and tells Imran what they've been doing, and she gets pretty mad about it. And also, can I just point out, the obvious thing here was the thing that they said earlier that hasn't happened yet, which is the fact that Imran lied about not having any prior knowledge of... Well, he didn't have any, conflicting interests in this case when he was the father of the child.
Yeah.
And he has no defence apart from lying about whether he knew at the time that he was a father. Why aren't they pursuing that? Because that was what Imran was worried about, and he said he was going to be struck off of being a solicitor. So if these people had two brain cells to rub together between the lot of them, they would use that and get him struck off. Then he can't defend himself. Then he's got no money coming in. He can't hire anybody. He's going to be screwed.
Or maybe they will.
Well, they haven't even thought of it. They're going, let's just say he's incompetent. So she says, Toy's really mad about them being sneaky and saying that he's a bad lawyer because she can't have that. No matter whether he's a sneaky snake or far too tall, at the end of the day, he's a damn good lawyer and he cares about his clients.
Didn't you see him in the 60th anniversary week episodes?
Exactly, he did soliloquies and everything.
So yeah.
So she's like, I'm fighting mad now, that's it, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get Alfie. Later on, Abby tells Evelyn what's going on, and Evelyn says, you should talk to Imran because Alfie should be with his mum, and the pair of you should reason it out together and come to a fair and joint agreement. And so Abby's inspired. She goes to find Imran and Toya. They're there with Alfie.
At the hospital.
It's like showdown at the high noon saloon. She says, we shouldn't fight. I want you both to be part of Alfie's life. And Toya says, yes, so actually we're getting married soon. So like I'm his stepmom. So back off. And Abby's like, oh, good. I'm not going to be a bridesmaid, though. We should try to just play happy families. She goes and gets a coffee, and Toya and Imran look at each other like, lying. She's lying. She's lying, isn't she? Yes, she's lying. I don't trust her. Don't trust her. That's weird. We're going to fight. We're going to beat her to death. We're going to inject insulin into her toes. Wednesday, Ben brings some dirt on Abby to Imran, but it's not that exciting. Imran's like... He's like, I've hacked into her FaceSpace account and I've liked a bunch of drug dealers' pictures. He didn't say that, but that's a good tactic. Yeah. He's managed to get hold of her bank details.
Ben has. Yeah.
And Imran's like, this is immoral. Why doesn't Ben go on the dark web and order some drugs to be delivered to her house?
But I think he would. He's at the moment.
Well, yeah, Ben's like, I could just make this happen.
Yeah. And Imran says, no. We
Not
need to
yet.
be above board.
We need plausible deniability. We need to make this storyline last at least a month. I'll come back to you in May. So Imran's like, no, can't have that. Friday, Imran's on the phone. Sounds like somebody is changing solicitors because the whole business is imploding. Adam's like, don't worry about it, we'll get through it together. Because Imran's like, I should just quit and go somewhere else. And he's like, no. But why is somebody... I don't understand. I thought Adam was the problem, but now Imran's the problem.
I think they're both the problem.
But the thing is, though, when you're trying to get, like, for some things you want somebody who's competent and knows what they're talking about, but for other things you want, like, sneaky, evil lawyers. So if I was them, I'd play up on that. I'd put like an advert going, do you want us to be dirty scoundrels? They just need to rebrand themselves, don't they? Do you want us to scam somebody for you using the law? So, Imran gets a text from Ben saying, we have to meet, bring some money, have a cafe. Imran gives Ben the cash and says, don't do anything illegal with it. And Ben's like, don't worry about it. There's a kid down Victoria Gardens selling alcopops cheap. I just needed... I didn't have a bank card. And he wouldn't take an IOU.
No. So,
and he said I didn't know where he lived, but I can hack into his account and find out. So
I don't know why he didn't just hack into Imran's account and get the money off him that way. Then he wouldn't have had to meet him in the cafe at all.
I've just transferred all your money to my account.
That should have been his text.
Yeah.
I just stole your money. Thanks very much.
Yeah, bye, sucker.
So, how long is this going to last then? With Imran saying don't do anything illegal. I'm surprised that he's been able to hold out till the end of the week.
So at the moment,
I'm thinking next week.
There's like a truce, isn't there, where Abby's like, let's just be cool about it, and Imran and Toya are like, we will secretly be slightly underhanded, but not illegal.
I think Toya's looking the worst at the moment. She's just looking mega desperate, isn't she? She originally said,
she's
let's
exactly
not do
the
anything
right size,
underhand.
is what she is.
Then the writers proved that she's, we shouldn't be on Toya's side by making her have a go at Roy. I mean, if that's not warning signs that she's the baddie in this story, then I don't know what is. And she's like, I think that she probably, if Ben were to ask Toya, should I do anything really dodgy? Toya is in such a frenzied state at the moment, so desperate to get her hands on this kid that she would say yes, do it.
The ends justify the means.
Unless she is still secretly working with Abby or something.
Why would that? Doesn't make any sense.
She's doing a very good acting job if that's the truth.
But it's illogical.
It's
illogical. It's illogical. The only thing that would make sense is if she was willing to jump ship when it looked like the good old HMS Imran was sinking in the North Sea. Then she's like, okay, I'm going to tell Abby it was my plan all along to help her get custody, because I honestly still think Imran has got by far the better chance. Like, forget all this underhanded stupidity, which is just part of the soap plot. If you just forget that, and the fact of the matter is, Abby is the only person in this whole scenario who has been denied access and custody to the child. I don't understand why there's even a question about who's going to get the kid. Abby's already gone to court and been told you're not having the kid.
No, but I thought that she was
Why
told
doesn't it
before
automatically fall to Imran just by default of the fact that he's on the birth certificate? I just don't understand this at all.
I think they have explained it, but I don't remember what the explanation is.
Wasn't listening, so
there we go.
They have to do it again.
There we go. Yeah. So I wish there'd been more of this story this week, but the more and more I watch it, still the more I'm going, no, I hate it. All my favourite characters are all being sneaky and they're hating each other, and I think like Abby was mostly being made out to be the perfect angel this week, wasn't she?
Oh, I'd do anything to be with my Alfie.
I've been through so much.
What can I do, beloved Coronation Street characters Evelyn and Roy? If you're on my side, I don't know what I'll do.
Yeah. But, I mean, they could very well turn the tables and have Abby doing something
I want her to
next
do
week.
something underhanded now, because I do think this is being very... I think it's supposed to be very... I think you're supposed to be even...
I think you're supposed to be going, I think that Toya and Imran should get it. Oh, no, I think Abby should get it. Oh, I don't think either of them should get it.
No, but I think...
it's definitely been quite anti-Imran and Toya this week. They're not looking good, and Toya particularly is looking very, very sappy and desperate, which isn't a good look for her. Is that it?
Yeah,
maybe there'll be more to talk about with this one next week.
On paper, it's obvious that Imran and Toya should just, no questions asked, be given the child for now, because they've already judged, they've already had a court case. They've already said, not the moment, Abby. You're not having him now. And then the dad turns up and they're like, I don't know. Let's do a rematch. Well, I don't get it.
I think, if you think a kid should belong with you, you'd move heaven and earth to try and get it. And even though logic says, well, probably we will get it, they'd be kicking themselves if Abby did get the kid.
About?
Well, no, I'm saying Imran and Toya, they could just be sitting around saying, well, we probably will get him after all. But if they sat around and did nothing, and then Abby got Alfie, then they'd be kicking themselves saying, we probably should have planted some drugs in her flat or something.
We should have planted drugs in her flat, Imran, you idiot. Waste of space, too tall.
Right. Moving on. Kelly Reeling this week.
This baby's going to grow up and be tall as well, isn't it? I can tell.
Yeah, that's how you're going to tell. It's definitely not Kevin's. Monday, Kelly's storyline. Beth shows Maria the curry publicity photo of them at the funeral is on the front page of the paper, and this is the picture that I used as one of my curry emojis last week and everything. So she's kind of gleefully rubbing it in, the fact that
nothing's come of that, has it?
No, not particularly. Kelly has a go at her, which was quite good because
Kelly telling Beth to stop being a horrible old cow.
Yeah. So Gary, Ed, and Paul turn up at Rick's house. What are they even doing?
Doing it up so they can sell it.
Is that right? Okay. So so they make an interesting discovery. A big old bag of money that they found underneath the floorboards there. Turns out it was £17,000 worth of £20 notes. We haven't looked under the floorboards of this house since we moved in, have we?
No, there could be some.
I think that should be a weekend activity, in case the previous owners were secret loan sharks.
When my nan's second husband died, we found weird stacks of cash all the way around his house.
Did you?
And you know what my nan did?
What?
Made me count it, and then she took it all.
Oh,
she didn't even give me finder's fee, or like any, like when you go to the shop and they got that coin counting thing and it takes 10%.
Yeah.
Where's my 10% for counting all the cash, Gran?
We have been told that there are trapdoors underneath a couple of carpets in this house, haven't we? But we've not even had a look at them. There's probably just groaning with money underneath there.
The cat round with a GoPro.
Yes, we do. That'd be fun. Anyway,
could be loads of money.
Gary's given Kelly this money, and they say, "Look, you could keep it. You could use it for uni fees, house deposit, maybe." She's not interested.
Right, this was stupid.
Go on.
Because she's already said, "I don't want any of the money," and they've already told her she's got £380,000, and she wasn't interested. Now they found £17,000. What's that? What's the difference? Why? It surely also, this needs to be, no, it's not going to be declared, but it's part of the will.
Yeah, it should be really. But
I know Gary's a bit of a crim.
He is a little bit, isn't he? We see her at the end of the episode disappearing into the tram station with this hold all, and we don't find out what's happened to her because the storyline only gets a couple of scenes on Wednesday. Gary says to Kelly, "Oh, you should you should bank this cash tomorrow because it's Kelly's funeral." So they go off to that. We don't get to see any of Laura's funeral. I was hoping to give Laura a good old send off, but we didn't get anything.
What we will get when the truth comes out, I guarantee it, a scene with Kelly by Laura's grave crying, going, "I'm sorry, Mum."
Crawling all over the grave. So anyway, Gary's saying to her, "You should bank that cash tomorrow," and she quickly changes the subject because she has clearly done something dodgy.
What do you reckon she's done with it?
I don't really know.
Put it back in the house. And then Gary comes back and goes, "You're never going to believe this.
Stash, Gary.
You're never going to believe this. I found another £17,000 in exactly the same bag."
Who'd have thought it? I don't know what she's done. Like, has she thrown it in the canal? Has she given it to the orphanage because she's such a saint? Yeah, has she given it to Stu to help his cough?
To the judges of the Weatherfield's Best Hairstylist Awards ceremony for giving her the award because she had to bribe them.
I don't really know. I've got no ideas. I've not really given it any thought.
She's got a secret
it's
sibling.
It's not been a main story. Maybe. She apparently, like 10 years ago when Rick was on the programme, he did say he had a son. So I don't know what's happened to him. People were also wondering on the internet this week, were those old £20 notes or new £20 notes? Because when Rick Neelan was around, we had the old paper £20 notes, and they're not legal tender for very much longer. Maybe like September they go out.
Really?
But if they were the new £20 notes, how did Rick have a load of new £20 notes? Because he was
dead in a ditch.
He was dead in a ditch when they came. So I think we need to investigate that one further, but maybe for another day. And also, I appreciated the lines about veggie lasagna in this story this week, because we've got Maria telling Kelly that she's going to make her favourite veggie lasagna, which obviously Toya has been doing for her. And then later on in the episode, you hear Gary getting a phone call saying, "What are we having for tea? Veggie what?" And you can see his face fall. Man. That he's also having veggie lasagna for tea in the evening, which is kind of funny.
Vegetable lasagna is a crime against everybody. You can do so many nicer things with vegetables than make them into a lasagna. Why make lasagna out of vegetable?
I don't know.
I despair.
Gemma, that's it. I think there's maybe more to that story next week, so we'll come back to it then. George and Eileen, you get this comedy caperings for this week. So over to you, Wednesday.
I am so sorry about this podcast today. I don't know what is wrong with me.
It's fine. Just stop sighing.
Wednesday, Eileen's surprised. George has bought her flowers and they arrange a night in together, and she tells him he can stay over, and he's like, "Oh my goodness." Later on, Todd and George realise that somebody has come and there's two of them.
They got a dead body,
And they
Mr.
got-
Little,
Mrs. Little 1 and Mrs. Little 2.
have come to visit the body. So they
How are they
jumped to the
gonna- what are they
conclusion
gonna
that
do?
Mr. Little is a bigamist.
Now, I think that's actually the case. We saw a few theories that it was a mum and a wife.
Yeah.
No, or daughter
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
I don't know.
it could be. It
After
doesn't really matter.
After work, Eileen tells George that she's cooking him a sexy mexi tonight.
Yeah.
Yummy. George tells Eileen that he can't stay the night because he's got to go back to his cat. And he can't get his story straight with this, can he? He says, go back to my cat. I had 2 cats. I got Newton and Ridley. And Newton got run over by an
ice cream truck, or was it a mobile library?
And then he forgets which one's dead and says it got run over by an ice cream truck.
There's more to this than meets the eye.
And she's not impressed and says, right, bugger off then, I'm sick of you. So Friday...
Stop bloody
Eileen, I'm not doing it on purpose. Eileen tells Mary what happened, and Mary's like, bollocks, does he have a cat? I'm allergic to cats, and anyone who has a cat makes me come out in hives, and I can always tell. And then,
which is why nobody has a cat on the street.
And
apparently.
Eileen says, something, this is a plot hole, because somebody else had a cat
Tracy
and you never
had
said
a cat,
anything.
remember?
And then
Remember that
Mary
for 2
said,
episodes?
I just took antihistamines, so if you're going to write about this on Twitter, you can shut up, because that's what happened with that. So this is not inconsistent.
Oh, stupid Mary.
So they knew what we were going to say. They knew that somebody was going to say that, and they preempted them. Good job, Coronation Street. But this is why you don't normally bother with it, because it was kind of weird.
Stop giving Mary ridiculous stories that clearly aren't true, and they're just making them up as they go along, because they're going to contradict each other at some point.
Eileen's in the pub with George, says, it's funny that you said that you had a cat, because Mary's allergic. And he says, well, of course I wouldn't get cat hair on me, because I can't get cat hair on my black clothes, because I'm a funeral director, and people wouldn't like it. So I've got a lint roller. So that's the end of that. And then he forgets which cat died, etc. And Eileen's just sitting there like, I don't believe a word of this. Then Sean overhears Todd and George talking about the 2 Mrs. Littles. They don't mention them or the situation. They just allude to it in very suspicious way of George
a way
going,
that makes Sean think,
Yeah.
oh, he's having
George
an
is like,
affair.
I can't let her find out about the other woman.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Then he sneaks back
what
to
misunderstanding.
Eileen's, doesn't he?
Yeah, Sean agonises, goes and tells
Eileen.
she can't believe it. And Mary's like,
You're doing a really good job. Jenna.
oh
Keep it
my
up.
god. He must be married. George comes over to number 11 and Eileen says, let's go back to your house. Why don't you? And he says, no, I don't want to. My house is messy. And also the cat is there. And she says, are you married? And he's like, what, the cat?
Maybe that is what's happened.
Maybe he's...
Think you're onto something.
And also, doesn't Mary say something like... No, Sean says, you don't have a cat because people who have cats will not shut up about cats. So I know you don't have
true.
one. And then George is like, I never speak of my cats.
I know we can't usually get through a podcast without giving Abby a bit of a shout out, can we?
Can I get a shout out for my cat? So she says, right, if you... Sean overheard you talking about another woman, and he says, no, that's a work thing. And she says, well, let's go talk to Todd about it. I want to get the truth. So she goes into the Rovers with Todd and George and asks him outright if George is seeing another woman. And immediately Todd jumps up and he's like, you better not be seeing another woman, or I'll beat you up. And it's obvious that this is not what's been going on. And he corroborates George's story.
Not that Todd knows.
Back at home, Eileen's relieved, but still thinks George is being suspicious, and she's going to do some digging.
That's his job, isn't it?
No, he just plonks it in.
Oh, okay, fine.
It's like the basketball star doesn't make the hoop, does he? He just throws the ball into it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the light relief story of the week, wasn't it? After all the heavy drama of Summer's diabetes and the sex worker and the teacher.
So what kind of like, is this going to be? I hope this is kind of a funny, stupid, spoofy, like properly over the top Coronation Street, what are you doing kind of a thing, where we kind of imagine that George is got his mum's skeleton in a wig.
I'm not sure. I don't know whether
he's
they'll be able to pull it off.
He's like, I am a funeral director, but she is the one woman I cannot bear to see put in the ground.
that could be quite funny if I just
no, but I mean, no. I mean, like he's there going, I'm just going to practice doing funeral makeup to add a new thing. So I'm going to get a mannequin and sit her in the window, and I'm going to paint lipstick on her, and then she walks past and sees him like with a mannequin and thinks, oh, good God, he's gone mad. He thinks that's his mum.
Or she could just walk past and find all that load of makeup on his bathroom shelf or something.
Yeah.
And go, oh, what's that doing there? You do have another woman.
You do.
But he's obviously got something because he's doing that deer in the headlight look that George is oh so good at doing. I think, like, if George appears in an episode, 50-50 chance that he's going to make that sort of look. I'm getting a little bit fed up with
yoinks,
that look.
Shaggy.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Just that wide-eyed. I think that Tony Morsley can probably do better than that.
No,
he can be. I mean, he could be given more than that to do. It just George makes his George shocked face is probably a staple in Corrie's
Maybe it's in his contract
now. Needs to the Ron Weasley clause needs to make a funny face at least once an episode. I don't know.
Well, what do you think the secret is?
Again, like with the Kelly and the money bag, haven't really given it too much thought, but I like your idea.
All
I can think of is she's going to find something that's going to make her double down on suspecting that he's got another woman when he hasn't, has he?
No, it can't be that because it's not interesting, is it?
No.
Maybe he's really into Hatsune Miku, and he like loves anime, and he's got posters everywhere.
Probably
of like Pretty Cure and stuff like that. Maybe he likes Cardcaptor Sakura and he's got the wand.
I don't know why you think it's something anime related particularly. Is it just because you've been really working hard on your magazine this week?
Yeah, I've been working too hard on it. Maybe he has all the consoles.
Maybe he's got loads of dartboards with Eileen's face in the middle of it.
Maybe he is Maybe he is married and it's Julie Carp.
Maybe
it's his wife. Maybe Julie Carp's his sister.
Could be.
And he's related to Eileen.
Yeah.
What else could it be? Maybe it's got to be an embarrassing hobby or some kind of personal issue. Maybe he has explosive diarrhea after 6
he's like
PM.
really into adult nappies or something like that. He's one of those.
Maybe he's a furry.
Oh yeah.
He can make quite a handsome wolf. A nice blue wolf.
I'm just a bit sad that whatever it's going to be, it's going to give another opportunity for nasty Eileen to come out, because I love Eileen when she's funny, but too often they're making her being a bit of a haranguer, aren't they?
I know, they're turning into a Beth a little bit.
She is a bit of a screaming harpy.
Maybe he collects World War II memorabilia and he's got a whole room of like Hitler stuff.
So George
and he'll be like,
is a secret Nazi.
No, he's not a Nazi. He'll say, I'm not a Nazi. I just collect it for historical interest. And actually, George, find it incredibly offensive when people say that I'm a Nazi just because I'm interested in World War II. And also, just to point out that the Nazi uniforms were actually quite stylish and it is not my fault what they did. But I like the uniforms and the hats.
I think that he's holding old Todd hostage and Eileen will go around there and go, I knew there was something going funny with my new...
I knew that kid was...
I knew my son didn't used to look like this.
This is weird. Maybe it's Jason.
Maybe it is Jason.
Maybe he's got Jason in his basement.
Jason the bass. Timperton.
Can I please come out, Mr.
Come
Shuttleworth?
on.
No.
We need to get to the end of this.
Timperton.
Sally's... So this, like the summer storyline that was going round and round in circles and nothing particularly new happened, this was absolutely what was going on here. I don't think I saw a single thing in this story this week that we hadn't seen a million times over. So basically, Sally... No, stop it. Don't even sigh. It's my turn. Sally's back from her ice skating at Gina's house.
Ice skating?
Yeah, she's been dancing on ice, hasn't she? Elaine's bought new cushions, she finds out, and she doesn't like the idea of that. And later...
Can I just say two things? Yes. Right. I was totally against Sally. I was like, why is she being so horrible? I know that Elaine's kind of in the way, but it's not really her fault. Nobody's told her like to go away to her face. Everyone's just tiptoeing around. Nobody's being nice. But then I imagined how I would feel if I came home and your mum was like, I've bought new pillows. I'd be like, get out, get out.
Yes, you know what it's like to have a mother-in-law called Elaine, who can be.
And the other thing I want to say is that everybody was talking on the Facebook group about the fact that Sally says putting tea bags near your kettle is common. Where does she put them? And nobody will tell me where she put them. You haven't written it down.
No.
Where does she keep them then?
I don't know.
I've got to know.
Sorry, I can't
Somebody
help
write
you.
in. Can somebody tell me, please?
Right. Sally says to Tim, why is your mum still better here? We need to tell her to go now. Otherwise, we'll never be able to have any alone time again.
Wink.
So there's a few more wittering on scenes between the three of them later. Sally getting narky about Elaine because she's cooking liver and onions for tea.
I quite like that.
What's worse, liver and onions or veggie lasagna? I don't know.
I'd rather eat liver lasagna.
I'd rather eat a whole packet of biscuits, even if they were off-brand. On Friday, more Elaine bashing from Sally, this time because she's alphabetised the kitchen cupboards. So at lunchtime, she's had enough and she comes out and tells Elaine straight, you need to sling your out, missus. Me and your son need some rutting time. Elaine says, right, I'm sorry I was imposing on you. I'm going to go upstairs and pack then. So later on in the episodes, we have Sally gleefully waving Elaine off in the car. I kind of hope we're not going to see her again because she's also irritating me. Immediately, Sally lures Tim back into the house for a spot of rumpy-pumpy. So today's outfit is sexy traffic attendant.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be...
Actually, I nearly wrote that down in the script. I thought, if Gemma reads this and I put that, she's going to be really confused. Yeah, tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be a sexy traffic attendant.
Called Fergie.
Fergus.
Called Fergie, because I'm a girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh dear, it's a bit of a flop when she tries to get Tim to the bedroom and Sally says, never mind Tim, it's nothing to worry about, these things happen. But he's really upset about it and he tells his Willie that he needs to have a word with itself.
It needs to.
It needs to have a word with itself, yes.
Please, stop embarrassing me in front of myself.
And if you needed any more proof that this week's Coronation Stew is a little bit silly, it actually had a scene of Tim talking to his Todger.
I think they're both on the same level intellectually.
Literally, there was nothing new here apart from they've managed to get rid of Elaine. That was a massive waste of a story. It was just a silly cover story of Sally Dinner doing her dancing on ice.
Well, I think that we are doing injustice to the beautiful exploration of middle-aged sexuality.
Is that what it's supposed to be? I'm not shaming it, just like I'm not shaming Nicky.
No, excuse me. I am, and I shame everybody equally. I don't want to hear anything about anybody, what they do in their bedroom. I don't want to know about it. And, all right, if you take it to the sofa, I don't want to know there either.
We've said this before, and it used to be, like when Sally did her sexy estate agent, whenever that was, 6 months ago, that was kind of funny.
I will say it was kind of funny.
But Corrie writers have seen the reaction to that scene and go, oh, we must have so many scenes of Sally dressing up as whatever and having her being sexy to Tim, and it's like, okay, it's not funny anymore though. Sorry. Get some new material.
I definitely appreciate a healthy, like being a healthy attitude to saying, you know, they're not even old, they're middle-aged, like, oh, you know, listen kids, your parents still do it and it's fine, don't worry about it. But I do think there's a little bit of like, aren't they a bit over it? Isn't this part of the joke that they shouldn't be rutting like teenagers?
I just think that, you know,
so that I don't like that.
I just feel that Sally Diniver has been with the show for 40 years or so, and is this really the best that the show can offer her?
Well,
she's one of Corrie's leading ladies,
she's still
and they're
a
making
sexy
dress up
babe.
as a sexy traffic attendant.
She's sexy.
I know that she's been away. I'd like her to have a proper, decent, meaty story that she can get her teeth into.
Well, this is probably another issue storyline. This affects people. I don't know. Well, I don't know.
I don't need a story about impotency.
Is it impotent when?
It's very impotent.
Is that what it is when you can't whoop?
I don't.
Or is it when you can't have? No, that's infertile.
Yeah, That's what we thought Adam Barlow was at the beginning of the year, wasn't it? That didn't go anywhere.
Impudent is Max.
Yes, it is. Speaking of Adam Barlow, yeah, this was the story for this week. He's got to go to work on Bank Holiday Monday. Literally, the whole of Weatherfield went to work on Bank Holiday Monday while their other halves were saying, it's Bank Holiday Monday.
Don't go in, it's Bank Holiday. Jesus would hate it.
This woman turns up at Adam's office, doesn't she? Who's like really, really insistent that she desperately needs some help on Bank Holiday Monday. So he has to phone up Sarah later and say, oh, sorry, I can't come back for the picnic because of this woman.
She's got all these sweaty Scotch eggs now. What's she going to do with them?
I know.
Give them to George, apparently.
Work's not going very well at the moment, he says to Sarah over the phone. And I was wondering if this woman was listening in because they gave her a speaking role.
They really did zoom in on her face. And I think the thing is, if I come into a lawyer's office on a Bank Holiday Monday and he's like, we're not open, and I say, I really need your help. He's got custody of the hamster and I think it's my turn this week. And he's like, right. And then he puts me in a room and then he talks loudly on the phone going, we're desperate for work. I've got to take this case. I think I'd leave. I'd be like, you need this too much.
She wants the hamster.
She wants the hamster, but I don't want a lawyer who's so desperate he's going to work on a Bank Holiday Monday and not charge me extra. What's happened to Adam? He's become impotent at being a lawyer. The first thing he should have said was, of course, madam, but it will cost you 3 times the normal rate because it's a bank holiday.
It's that Lydia's
and
fault.
I'm very religious.
It's Lydia's fault. She made him bad.
Has he not like been on the phone to Mr. Google saying, you know, all those reviews are fake because the lady was bats.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Can't you get it taken down?
No. Well, if you can get
And how are people finding out about Imran
he needs to speak to Deb about how to get things taken down off the internet, doesn't he?
How come everybody in Weatherfield knows that and judges Imran for being involved in a child custody case with Abby, but nobody knew that Nicky was Rebecca Blue Jay or whatever? How come they didn't know that?
Close. Tiffany Blue Night.
Considering every other man in the street is like, uh-oh.
Right. That's it for this week's Coronation.
What do we gonna give it?
I enjoyed having a chat about that.
I really enjoyed talking about it.
I
don't think we should have recorded any of what we just said.
I still don't think it was that great a week, but I hope that the people who did enjoy this week enjoyed the levity that we brought to it with our complaining. But
sorry if we said anything that's bad. I stand by what I said about tall people.
So do I.
Honestly, if you
I
ever...
stand by wishing that I was taller.
I don't wish you were taller. I think you'd be too tall. I like to see your eyes.
So you can tell if I'm lying or not.
Look at me and tell me where those biscuits went.
I am giving... what?
The fact that I say stupid things and other things means that don't take me serious about anything.
I think next week's going to be better. I'm banking on next week being better. I'm going to give this week's Coronations... No, actually, I haven't decided on the score. There wasn't much going for it. I'm going to give Daisy my character of the week because I thought that she was great.
Interesting. That was the thing you teased me about, and you said I'd find out in 2 hours' time, which is pretty
not bad actually. Look at that,
yeah.
155. No, I thought that Daisy was my character of the week. I thought she was fun. I know that she was getting a bit possessive and jealous, but I thought that I enjoyed her. I'm glad that she dumped Daniel and she took him to task because he was an arse to her.
I think you're going to find that's quite a controversial opinion, and I think a lot of people are very hung up on how mean she was to Nicky.
Well, I don't care. Daisy's my character of the week. I thought she was great.
I wish I could not care about what people think about me as much as you don't.
However, I'm going to give this week's Coronation Street a big old... Oh my gosh, I can't give it... I'm going to give it 2. I was going between 1.5 and 2.
1.5?
I don't think it was 1.5, but I'm going to give it 2 dirty cups under Todd's bed out of 5. What about you?
What is in the cup? I'm going to give it...
I don't think they are cups.
2.5. What is it?
Dirty mags.
Oh.
Dirty mags. Because he's old school.
Wait till he finds out about that website. He'd be like, look, it's not for me, I know that, but I still it's better than this 1962 copy of Playboy.
Go on, what are you
I'm
giving
going to give it
2.5
two and a half first class honours in yogurt knitting.
Oh yes, that's what was it Abby said that Toya had, didn't she? That was a good line to tell this week.
What did she actually do? What do you remember? What?
I don't think she did. She just
Michael. At A level, you said she got her results.
No, I don't remember what she got at A level. What she did at A level. She didn't go to uni though.
No, she didn't.
Sure. Okay, so your character of the week, Gemma.
Oh, I thought I was going to go over.
You're not getting
I was going to bring it up. You should give it to. Well, I wanted to give it to Mr. Little.
You can't give it to Mr. Little.
He's dead.
Come on. Is it Max? Is it Daisy? Is it Nicky?
No.
Is it Orla Crawshaw?
Oh, I don't like anybody this week. I'm in such a bad mood
George?
with this episode. These episodes.
Decide. Gotta decide.
Can I give it to Ken Barlow?
No, you cannot give it to Ken Barlow.
William Roche's birthday.
No. You can give it to Ben. You can give it to Maria. You can give it to Sean. You can give it to Tim. Must decide.
Nobody deserves anything. Mrs. Crawshaw.
Why?
I'm gonna give her a bagel.
Why is
because
Mrs.
everyone's
Crawshaw?
making. I think
She's a real victim in this storyline.
she's going through real emotional turmoil, and everyone's just laughing because it's like, look at that lady who's old and she's laughing.
Okay.
She should have her wits about her at that age. She shouldn't be crying over no man.
You've justified your choice, and then it's now locked in. Nicky and Mrs. Crawshaw, characters of the week.
Well, what a pair of winners.